So here's my setup. The last months I've been going out deep into the Swedish forests trying to photograph some galaxies for the first time ever using a star tracker, getting the best images I've had so far. Still a beginner, but I'm thoroughly enjoying this. But I haven't shown you guys my post-processing process yet, so I figure I take my last and also best image and show you how I post-process it to create my images that I like in the way I like them. So here in Photoshop we see a fully stacked photograph with I think it's roughly 40 minutes of data, meaning 40 times 1 minute of imaging. And this is both galaxy down here, M81, and you have M82 here. You also have some kind of galaxy there and there. And if you look at Solarium, you can see roughly the frame that I have, and also these two galaxies on the bottom corners of M81 and M82, which are the main subjects here. So I'm just going to ignore the other two galaxies for this tutorial. So what I do in the beginning is that I try and crop the image as I want it. So I'll start off with that because this one will also remove all these unnecessary unstacked areas that I have in the photograph, trying to frame it as good as possible. In this tutorial I'm going to go roughly one by one composition, something like that. And you'll see that I also am cropping a lot. And since I got some of the nebula or some of the galaxy, the other galaxy in the corner that I don't want, I'm just going to crop it a little bit more. And then I'm just going to keep the two galaxies on the top sides of each side. So here they are, and this is a photograph which is stacked, meaning has a lot of data in it. So the first thing I do is that I try and stretch this image using simply layers. But before I do that, I'm just going to make a copy of the background just to have it there. And then I'm just going to start stretching the layer simply by squeezing the mid-tones and the darks together, creating spreading out or stretching out the data here. So I usually do this in small steps. I am not in a rush, but for the sake of this tutorial I'm going to make it a little bit more aggressive so you can see progress a little bit faster. I'm going to go way more aggressive than I'm used to. So now, as I'm stretching, you can see that a lot of detail is popping up. You can see the spiral arms of the galaxies and also all the faintest areas are starting to pop up, which is great, which is exactly what I want. And trying to keep stretching out data and keeping the background as dark as possible is basically my rule of thumbs here. So now you can see I've stretched it out quite a lot. I will continue stretching it out a little bit. What I'm most careful about is not to clip any data. I'm careful not to pass the histogram that shows that there's data there, or which shows that there's data there. So roughly at this point, I will make an adjustment layer to increase the contrast by using curves adjustment layer and simply pull down the darks a little bit and bump up the midtones. And then I'm just going to create a new layer with these adjustments, and I'm going again to continue stretching out this image. Now, as you can see, I am beginning to near some kind of data here on the lighter mid-tones part, so I'm trying to be a little bit more careful there. but I still have some areas here in the darks where I can bump it up. So at this point I am a bit happy with this stretch, so I am going to try and remove this background gradient that appears when you do the stretching. And I'm doing this the simplest way possible. I'm just creating a copy of my layer, and then I'm applying a filter, which is now, which one is it? The dust and scratches and the noise. And what I'm trying to create is like a background template of like the gradient that appears. So when I have that, I will try and remove the galaxy because I don't want them to be removed. I only want the background to be removed. So here at this point, I will take out my clone stamping tool and try to clone out these areas here simply by painting in the background as I think it is going to be. So this one is a bit hard, so I'm not going to go that aggressive. I'm usually very thorough when I do this. This is just for the sake of the tutorial. I don't want to bore you guys with all of these details, but you can basically figure out what I'm doing here and why I'm doing it. So I'm just simply trying to create some kind of background gradient, basically the gradient that I have here. So when I feel happy that I'm roughly been doing a good gradient here, and I'm confident that I'm not going to touch the galaxies that much. I usually, as I said, I usually do this way more thorough than this. But at this point, I'm happy with it for this tutorial, and I will select a subtract type of layer here. So where are you? Here we are. So here you can see the before and after. And well, basically it darkens things out. It just removes all this strange background gradient that you have without touching the galaxies too much. So here you can see that the colors are a bit off, right? So when I see that, I'm just going to go back to my curves adjustment layer. I'm sorry, I have to create a new like that. And here I will try and fit these three colors individually. You can see there's a bit too much green here, so I'm going to bump that up a little bit more. No, I'm just kidding. Let's stretch this one out a little bit first, because I need a little bit more details here. Just simply like something like that. All right. And now I'm just going to go to the individual channel, and I can try to match, stretch the individual channels. I'm looking at this top one here. I don't want the red to go out way to the right. I just want the red to match all the other curves. So the green is the most aggressive part. So the red and the blues are the ones that have to be added here. Okay, something like this, which I'm kind of happy with. This image is really noisy, and this is because I'm a bit sloppy with my process here. But at this point, this is where I finish photoshopping, and I will import this image into Lightroom and continue there. Okay, so I saved the stacked photo in Photoshop as a TIFF file, and then I have imported it in Lightroom. And what I will be doing here is some noise reduction and final adjustments, and also I will try and make the colors pop a little bit. So if we start off with the noise reduction, because this image is already like a nebulosity, it's very blurry, I'm not really afraid of going up a little bit. I usually go up to 45, and then a lot of the noise is being removed by this one. It's being cancelled. So at this point I'm pretty happy with the noise reduction. The colors, however, are not that good. Just bumping down the exposure and the contrast and some of the highlights, because this is not a strict process for me. I usually just look at what I have and I'll try to create something beautiful out of what I have at the moment. So just trying to, create as cool as image as possible. Sometimes when I'm not sure if I'm going to use a slider, I just go to the extremes and see what it does, and then just reset it. And I kind of liked when it had a little bit of texture, so I'm going to add a little bit of that. Clarity is not necessary here, maybe just a tad clarity. Dehaze, I can remove some of the nebulosity perhaps, because I feel it's a little bit too much. And here are the colors. Now, to try and see what the true colors of these things are, I usually just go to saturation of vibrance and max those things out. And then I kind of know that the core there in M82 is red or orangey. And when I go there, I can see that I am pretty close to some kind of true colors by adjusting a little bit. I'm still not very happy with the colors, but this is not how I'm going to use them. I will go down a little bit in the colors here, because it's too extreme to bump them up so hard. But somewhere around here is okay. I still think it's a bit too much on the purple side on the arms, but I will adjust that later on with the masks. So somewhere around there. And then I'm just gonna address this core here, because I know it's orange and I want it to be a bit more red. So I'm just going to do that and just increase the saturation and hue towards orange. Towards the red, and just try the sliders out a little bit. Still not happy with it. I will fix it a little bit later on. And also this purple, I want that to be a bit more on the bluish side, right? Because that is what M82 looks like. It's a bit blue in the arms and a bit more orange in the core. So somewhere around there is fine, it's good enough. This one doesn't do much. It's this one that will make all the difference here. So making it a little bit more blue, like that. And now I will just pull the entire image a little bit more to the hot side to make it a little bit more hot there. And then I'm just going to address the core a little bit here, because this one is just not very interesting. And I do that by creating a small brush here. Or maybe I should use, no, I'm just going to brush it, to brush my adjustments here, because I know that this core here is going to be red, or is red. So I'm just going to put it just a little bit more towards the red side, like that. I'm faking the colors a little bit, of course, but that's totally allowed. It's not a scientific photograph. It's more of a artsy photo here. And I'm going to look at this one, which has really weird colors at this point. You can see that now. I'm just going to go a bit more on the blue side here, trying to keep the arms blue, which this one has kind of nice colors. And then I'm just going to create a new adjustment brush and just address the core part here, which is a little bit too blue for my taste. So I'm going to go and make it a little bit hotter, something like that. So I can always kind of do some minor adjustments on this at the end, but this is roughly how I post-process my images. I try to keep it simple and kind of maximize the output results of the things that I photograph. But yeah, this is basically my process that I use, and I hope that I might have given you some kind of tip on how to post-process your astrophotography images. As you can see, it's not that hard. You don't have to do a lot to create nice things. And if you kind of look at the before and after, it's a world difference, because this is the before picture and this is the after picture. So it's yeah, it's fun to create stuff from these stacked images. Okay, so that's it for this video. If you like this content, do give it a like. It helps others to find me, and also, yeah, it's just nice for me to know that you like it. And if you have any suggestions, please put them down in the comments field. And if you want to see more photography related content, do not forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye now.